if there was a prize for introductions, that man would get that prize. Isn't he brilliant? And what about you lot? It's really early. What did you have for breakfast? You're in such a lovely mood. Thank you very much for coming out to hear three women talk about three women. And it's very, very exciting to be on a stage with two such fabulous writers talking about these extraordinary creatures from history. Manus is going to be my human clicker. Manus, where are you? Could you get the first slide up so we can have all the pictures of these women behind us? I knew this would work seamlessly. When in your own time, my friend. But what I wanted to do, have you ever heard of something called an elevator pitch? So an elevator pitch is this mythical moment in time when supposedly you're stuck in an elevator with a Hollywood director and you have about 5 floors to persuade him that this is the book he should turn into a film or this is the script he should do. So what I'm going to do, for those of you who aren't familiar with all of these amazing women, is I'm going to get everybody to do an elevator pitch. Are you ready? So you've got 5 floors, which is about maybe, I'll be generous, it's a really slow lift in an old Delhi building. So you have got 2 minutes to sum up who your woman is and why we need to know about her. First of all, Livia, over to you. Oh, does it work? Oh, amazing. Thanks, Manus.
Why?
Okay.
Well, is it working?
You have to hold it like this a bit more, so almost that way.
Okay. Why do you have? Because she was a mystery. She's been a mystery until I stubbornly started my quest for her after seeing an amazing photograph in a museum in Mumbai in 2007. And her story was, so it was said in the caption, that she had saved Jewish lives during World War II, during the German occupation of Paris, by selling her jewelry. And she was arrested and sent to a concentration camp where she died a year later. So I really wanted to know her story and tell it, which is a bit of a different story.
Well, ping, absolutely brilliant timing. We got to the floor. If I was, well, isn't it? It's a super story. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty. Okay, so back down now with the trapped director. Shrabani, over to you.
Right. Time starts now. So who is this fabulous woman, Noor Inayat Khan? You've seen her photo. She was a secret agent in the Second World War. She was the first woman radio operator to be infiltrated into occupied Paris, codenamed Madeleine. She took on the Gestapo. She did brilliant work, but she was betrayed, captured, and eventually taken to Dachau concentration camp, and she was killed there. But for her bravery, she was awarded the George Cross. So that's Noor. She was only 30 when she died.
Yeah. It is one of those amazing stories that you think, if I would have presented that as a fiction, nobody would believe it's true. Okay, so I'm doing one too, just in case you don't know. So this is the granddaughter of Ranjit Singh, the Lion of Punjab, the last ruler, not the last true ruler of a truly Sikh empire. His son, Dalip Singh, is the last man to wear the Kohinoor diamond on his arm, and his daughter, Sophia Dalip Singh, because of her father, is born in exile in England, where she grows up as the goddaughter of Queen Victoria, and unlike any other member of her family, she doesn't hate the British. All of them hate the British for what they did, what they took away from the family, but she doesn't, to the extent that she becomes one of the leading suffragettes. And suffragettes are these women who fought for the right of women to vote. She takes to the streets, she fights with police, she tries to go on hunger strike, she's willing to lay down her life for the daughters of the enemy, and then brings voting rights to India. Bing! I think that's my time up as well. Okay. So these are brilliant stories. Now, I thought we might have a chat, and I know, Livia, you've got some images as well, and we've got a couple. Maybe we'll try and muddle through them. I'm going to pass the conch to you so that you can flick through and just press play when you want to find something. But first question, Livia, you said it was a photograph that attracted you to this story.
Yeah.
What was the very first thing that pierced you, saying Noor Inayat Khan was the thing you needed to write about?
It's a photograph, a tiny postage stamp-sized photograph. in a newspaper talking about the contribution, in a British newspaper, talking about the contribution of Indians in the Second World War. So it was full of all these fabulous photos of the men in their turbans, really handsome men. And in a corner, there's a tiny photograph of a woman in a uniform, in the RAF uniform. And just a caption, Anita, saying, Noor Inayat Khan, wireless operator, killed in Dachau and won the George Cross. And that's all I had.
I mean, I just thought, when you said it was a photograph, both of us went, oh my God, it was a photograph as well, because it was also a photo for me. Again, photograph in a really minor local newspaper saying Suffragette selling newspaper outside Hampton Court Palace. That was it. But I thought, hey, it's black and white, it's this same picture. She looks Asian. And more than that, being Punjabi, she looks Punjabi, man, I'm sure of it. How can this be? And that started a little scratchy to try and get a story to make sense of that photograph. Well, after you saw the photograph, and you had this image in your head keeping you up at night, what were the next steps for you? And at what point did you think, actually, there's enough here for me to write the story?
So the next step was trying to find out something about the story, which proved to be very, very hard, and it took me many years. And there was a reason for this. The story was kept silent because maybe there was a scandal behind, but this I will tell about later. Anyway, the first step was asking a friend to find some connection with her family and getting in touch from Paris, where I live, with her daughter, who was 78 then, and she's called Nirvana Vilka, nicknamed Bubbles, and it took me a long time to find the courage to make this phone call, because I thought it was so unpolite to call an elderly Indian lady on her cell phone to say, I'm an Italian writer and journalist and calling from Paris, and I would like to know if it's true that your mother died in a Nazi camp. How do you ask that question? Anyway, finally I found the courage to do it, and she said, it's true and it's not true. Some of the things that were written in this exhibition that was curated by the Victoria and Albert Museum of London, but in Mumbai, were not exactly right. She didn't die in the concentration camp. She was sent, she managed to leave. She died in 1948 in London. But why don't you come and see me? And I had just moved to Paris, had a new life there. It was very complicated with the daughter going to school and so on. And so it took me a while. A year and a half later, I came to India, to Pune, to interview her. And that's when, I asked her, do you mind if I record our conversation? This might be a book or not. And she said, please go ahead. And I said, what can you tell me about your mother? And she said, outraged, nothing. And I said, what do you mean nothing? And you made me come up to here. And she said, nothing. I can't tell you anything about my mother because she left us when I was 4 years old, and she was never spoken about again in the family. What can you tell me about my mother? And I thought, I must be dreaming this, but I did have a year and a half to make research. I found nothing in France. I found a dossier at the British Library, and I could tell her things. And I saw that this was so important for her, that was more important for her than for me.
It was partly a service to a desperate child, and you being a mother.
Yeah.
That spoke to you. I mean, that's a lovely way of putting it. Again, what? The what? Okay. Manes, get rid of the books and put the camera on our beautiful faces so that people can see us. Yeah, sure. Could you put the photo, so that they can see the speakers? There you go. Is that better? Happy? We aim to please. Okay, great. Very good. Forget about the pictures. It's either or. You can look at us. Okay. The other thing that these books have in common, so again, taking Livia's lead, is secrets. So yours is a family secret that's been buried in time. Your character, your real person, Noor Inayat Khan worked in a place that depended on secrecy, that depended on not being identified. So first of all, I think maybe tell everybody what the SOE was and why it was so difficult to find out about a woman who worked for them.
Right. So Noor worked for this organization. I mean, she was recruited. Shall I say why she was recruited?
Yeah,
I think so.
absolutely. I hope so, yeah.
Well, yeah, basically, I mean, Noor Inayat Khan, her background is that she was a Sufi. She grew up in Paris. She was born in Moscow. She grew up in Paris. Her father was a Sufi, Hazrat Inayat Khan. He'd taken Sufism to the West. She was actually a musician. She wrote children's stories. She's a dreamer. She is the last person you think of who is going to be in the front line facing the Gestapo. So this dreamer is determined when the war breaks out that she's going to do her bit in the war. And so they move from Paris, come to London, and she volunteers for the Air Force, the RAF, Royal Air Force. And she's recruited, you know, she has you see her photo in the book. Oh, actually, it's here. In her uniform, which she loved. So she's just suddenly now just a number. She's no longer, you know, the Pirzadi, daughter of the Pir, descendant of Tipu Sultan. She's nothing. But crucially, she is trained as a radio operator, which is a job that men had done up to now. And they needed women to do these jobs because it's one of the most difficult areas in the field. And I'll probably come later to say why it's so dangerous. And so the men were dropping like flies. You know, the life expectancy of a radio operator was 6 weeks. And so they needed to train women. So Noor is one of the first women to be trained as a radio operator, highly skillful job. She's very good at it. And then she is noticed while she's tapping her Morse code. One day she gets a letter to come for an interview. And that's because she's been noticed by the Special Operations Executive. And they are looking to recruit people to send them undercover into the occupied countries, so France, Norway, etc. And Noor fits the bill because she's a radio operator and because she speaks French fluently. She's brought up in France. She speaks like a native.
I've heard you say this before, but there is one obvious thing that if I were recruiting would occur to me. And you can't peel it off. It's the colour of your skin. So, you know, France, not known for its enormous ethnic mix at the time, Nazis not known for their love of great ethnic mixes. How did they still think, actually, she was the right woman for this job?
Absolutely. Well, I think they were hoping she would pass off as, you know, Algerian, one of the colonies, whatever. And basically, they were desperate. As I said, they were losing the men. They were dropping like flies. They needed to send women in. So she is trained. The SOE stands for Special Operations Executive. And it was set up by Churchill himself. And he says to the agents, go set Europe ablaze. And their job is to sabotage the rail tracks. So if the German trains are coming, they're going to blow up. They're going to give arms and ammunition to the resistance. So she's going to work with the resistance. So it's a really dangerous frontline job. And she's trained for this. So suddenly this, you know, dreamer with a skin like ours, standing out, but very beautiful, stunning. A spy is supposed to be, you know, go
fading
unnoticed,
into the background. Nothing
unnoticed.
about her fades in the background.
She would enter, and people, you know, people would turn. One of her teachers, who gave her the code, said, the first day she walked into the room, he melted into chutney. So, you know, that's what she was. But anyway, she's sent in. So more as we go along.
Yeah, and just very, very briefly, because I want to hear more from you two. But secrets are the reason that bloody-minded women like us go after stories like this, and perhaps they hadn't been written before. Nobody had written about Amrit Kaur before. Noor Inayat Khan, you turned into a major figure in British history. Nobody cared about Sophia Dalip Singh, even though she's Queen Victoria's goddaughter. She lived in Hampton Court Palace. There'd been nothing written about her. And that she was this leading fighter for women's rights who won the right of women to go and vote. You know, leading the marches through Westminster, battling with police officers outside the House of Commons. She did all of those things, and I couldn't understand why did nobody know about her? Why didn't I know about her? Forget anybody else. Why didn't I know about her? I'm an Asian, I'm a Punjabi, I'm a political journalist. I have failed on every possible level by not knowing this story. And the reason is, again, secrets. So it did not suit the British to have such a punchy Asian woman, Indian woman, in the headlines. Her father had been ousted from Punjab. Punjab at the time was really restive in the run-up to the First World War. They were worried that they might lose it. The last thing they needed was a teeny tiny brown woman standing up to the British on their own soil and for that story to get out. And so, by looking through the archives and at the documents marked top secret and confidential and for your eyes only that talked about her, basically saying, don't let this story get out into the newspapers. We can't throw her out into the street, though we'd like to. Letters from the King saying, get her out of Hampton Court. Letters from the Secretary of State saying, if you want to take that on, sir, you do it. We're not going to do it because we know what will happen in India. And to find a document signed by Winston Spencer Churchill himself, basically saying, send no more reply to her because she has annoyed him so much about the Votes for Women issue and complained about police conduct so much, that was really something else. So people can actually be deleted from history. Is that the same with Amrit Kaur? Was there an effort to delete her? And if so, who deleted her? Or did she just slip through the cracks of history?
Well, she made a difficult choice, which wasn't appreciated by her family. And this is, I think, why she was deleted. Anyway, the mystery was this. I found nothing in France, even though she was supposed to have lived from 1933 on, always in Paris, until she was arrested in 1940. I did find, as I said, a thick dossier in London at the British Library, but only concerning the war years, the time she was interned into internment camp in Besançon, and her father and her husband, the father was the Maharaja of Kapurthala, her husband was the Raja of Mandi, tried to liberate her, and there were letters to Churchill, to Marshal Pétain, and to all the authorities in the effort to liberate her, also because she was very sick at that time in the internment camp, like many other internees. So that was very, very difficult because, okay, what happened between 1933 and 1940 when she was arrested? That was a big gap, and the daughter couldn't fill it. So I almost gave up on the book and on the research when, in a desperate move, I contacted a biographer in Spain of a woman who became the fifth wife of Amrit Kaur's father. She was a Spanish dancer, and I asked this biographer, in the material you have, have you come across her name and so on? And she sent me an email saying, listen, the book is 25 years old, my computer is 6 years old, it's impossible I have anything, but I'll have a look. And she sent me this email that she received 2 or 3 years before by someone who was saying, hello, I read your book. I see you mention Amrit Kaur of Mandi in your book, and I would like to contact the family because I found a suitcase, a briefcase, with plenty of documents and letters and photographs of this lady, and I would like to give it back to the family. Can you put me in contact with her? And and then I read, the signature, a woman called Ginger Rosser, and a phone number and an address in San Diego, California. And I think, can't be possible. The biographer says, you don't know how many fake documents and stuff they gave me, when I did my research, so you shouldn't trust anyone. I Googled this woman, and I found out she was a a model for artists in her 50s and formerly a stripper. And I thought, being prejudiced like I am, even though I hate to admit it, I thought, of course, of course this can't be true. Of course she's making this up. But I contacted her, and she said, because she was in her 50s, she was doing burlesque. And so she said, how did you find me? She got really excited. How did you find me? And I said, well, anyway, I can't talk now. I'm working. And I really pictured, here's getting undressed. And I couldn't believe it. Anyway, she said, call me tomorrow and I'll find a way to get you these documents. And I went to bed literally thinking, how much can I pay? How much do I have in the bank? The day after I woke up, and I had 119 documents scanned and sent to me for free. And so again, another prejudice that was smashed. Yeah. I had everything for free, and I did travel later to San Diego for the purpose of saying thank you so much. And there I found the story.
Wow, that's such a great story. An absolutely brilliant story. I'm going to open this up to questions in a moment, but just, very briefly, did you have one of those eureka moments when you suddenly, you find the holy grail of information that makes this all make sense?
Yeah, isn't it what we all wait for? But a few years had gone since I'd seen this photograph of Noor, and I didn't know anything. Whatever searches came up, there wasn't much. And I thought, was she a Mata Hari character? I was quite excited. But then it turned out she's a Sufi. So I said, wow, this is getting more and more interesting. But everyone needs luck. Excuse me. So that bit of luck came in 2003. And that's when the British Home Office releases its Secret Service papers. So they released all the papers of all these secret agents. And wow, bingo, I was there. I knew Noor's file would be there. I was in at the National Archives on queue, and they locked me in a room because it was a very precious file. I was the first to look at it, top secret, opened it, and my goodness, her life, how she's recruited, the training, things were falling into place. And then it gets darker. The letters to her mother, she's missing, we can't find her. And then the letters from her brother saying, a year has gone, we don't know about her. And by now I'm like, like joking up in this little room saying, thank God I'm alone, locked up here with this file. So that was the file of her training and recruitment. But that's not enough for a book. I had to then contact her family. I needed to know what drew her to this. I needed her background. She was a Sufi, so luckily, again, her brother was alive. I went to Paris, interviewed him. I interviewed the second brother, the cousins, colleagues in the RAF, everybody, just to put this whole jigsaw together, because it is the Secret Service.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Things are, hidden. Things
for
are
reasons, for very good reasons of warfare.
And so it's like putting together a giant jigsaw, and finally we got this.
I think it's even more than that, Shrabani, because it's putting together a jigsaw that was designed to be done in the dark, wearing gloves and a blindfold, and you did that. It's amazing. I'm going to open it up to questions just while you're putting your hands up. Put your hands up loud and proud, and I'll come to you with microphones. But just while we're be brave, don't be shy. The shy hand will get nowhere in this life. You've got to. There we go. Well done. So just while that microphone's getting there, I'll tell you my eureka, holy grail moment was I'd done all this research, and bear in mind, this to me is the most sobering thing, is that I was told that there were people in the world who knew her, Princess Sophia de Leipzig, that they were still alive. And that's how close this situation was to women in the world not being allowed to vote because they weren't meant to be clever enough, logical enough, independent enough. And so I'd been told there were these rumors that, she had a goddaughter, and that goddaughter might still be alive, or the goddaughter was dead, or there might be family of the goddaughter. And like you, I was hoping for the suitcase full of documents. Even if I can't find her, someone who knows her might know where this box of stuff is. And I tried for a year and a half. I had this name, a nickname to go on. I used every journalistic bone in my body to try and trace this person. And I swear to you, this was my last attempt. And I rang up and I got an answer phone, and I was so used to being disappointed at this point. I just left a message. I said, look, I know this won't be you, but I'm looking for Catherine, who is the goddaughter of Sophia Dilip Singh. This is my number if it's you. And I put the phone down. I said, right, well, that's that. I can't do anything else. 1 minute later, the phone rings, and this really feisty voice says, what do you want with my princess? And it started a friendship that lasted, to years. I went to stay with her. Through her, I learnt how the princess smelt, how she walked, how she talked, anecdotes that you would not have got in any document, but from a person who loved her, and she loved this little girl as well, to the point where she named her, and she had photographs. I mean, just wonderful photographs and things. So this happens. I think it's a really odd thing, but sometimes books are meant to be written, and they fight to be written, and I certainly get the feeling from all of these. Questions? So who had the mic first? You, sir. Short questions, because I want to get as many as we can.
Honestly, it's not a question, but I have to share this with you that in the point about Rajkumari Amrit Kaur being forgotten, there is, in the late 1960s, there was a sports sponsorship that was done in India in her name, and standing before you is one person who trained as table tennis under the Rajkumari Amrit Kaur coaching scheme.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I wonder if you mentioned it, then I'm sorry I have not read your book, but I just wanted to quickly share with you that she wasn't all, perhaps she was remembered in some places by her family, or because there was a sports sponsorship named after her.
There are two Rajkumari Amrit Kaurs of Kapurthala. Anyway, that I have one was very much more important. She became the first, she was Gandhi's assistant. She spent 3 years in jail with Gandhi, and then she became the first woman in parliament in India and Ministry of Health. That's a cousin. So I don't know which one of the two.
Okay, perhaps it's
well,
the other one.
that we don't know for sure, but I tell you what we do know for sure. Her book is available in the bookshop, and now you can go get it. Okay, who's got the other microphone? Right at the front, and then give the other microphone to the lady over there. Let's just keep them coming, and keep them short and pithy, my friend.
I'm going to keep it short and pithy.
Thank you.
I love your empire, for example.
Thank
your
you.
Podcast.
Thank you.
You made a passing comment during this session saying that Sophia had influenced the Indian suffrage. Would you like to say a little bit more about it? Because I'm not aware of the connection.
Oh, massively so. So when she came to India, and she was able to come to India in the latter part of her life, so we're talking in the late 30s to the 40s, she met with these two figures who were very, very important in the Free India movement. Hirabai Tata, of the Tata family, and Mithun Lam, who is Hirabai's daughter. And they write about it. Mithun Lam writes about it. She says they're in Kashmir, they're taking tea with the princess, and she always wore badges from the suffragette movement. And it was purple, white, and green. And Mithun asked her, what is that? And she said, let me tell you all about it. And then told them all about this fight for women's rights, for women to get the vote. And the three women were huddled together, saying, well, India's about to be born a new republic. They had no doubt about that. So in the first constitution, women must be the ones who get the vote. They bring in Sarojini Naidu in the very first roundtable meeting on what will the new republic constitution look like in London. You have Sarojini Naidu sitting here, Sophia Dilip Singh sitting behind her. She's this weird Where's Wally of history. Every time something important or cool is happening, she's somewhere around. Anyway, that's the short answer. I go into a lot more detail. Who's got the microphone? Yes, the young lady over there.
Thank you for such a brilliant session. I'm a student, I'm studying history, and there's nothing about Indian women in our history textbook. Our grade 10 NCRT textbook had like one paragraph. What do you think it will take for it to change? And what do you think that we students should do to learn more about these women about whom nothing is written?
Great question. Do you want to take it?
Absolutely. I mean, well said, because I grew up in India, and when I went there, I hadn't heard of Noor Inayat Khan. And I said, I studied history. I did my graduation, master's. I said, why don't we know about these people? And also, we didn't know anything about Indians in the world wars either. It was such a Western war. Our vision was just very, very narrow. So yes, I mean, more of these stories are told. I do hope they incorporate them in textbooks, you know. There should be special chapters for the women.
You know what's really mad? And this is up to you now to sort this out, okay? I'm looking at you. What's your name? Niharika's personally responsible for this going forward. But there is a problem that these brown women, certainly, you know, the two that we wrote about a long time ago, your book has just come out, and I have no doubt it's going to be the same with Amrit Kaur. They are known in England more than they're known in this country. It's to the point, and I have to say that I think it's okay to take some credit for this, a lot of lobbying on our part. Can I show you two pictures very quickly, and then I'll do another question on this. They're right at the end of this. Can you put the slides up? I just want to show them one thing, and then we can go back to the way the lady likes it. Just 2 seconds, show me the slides. Okay, hang on a second. So I just want to show you these two pictures. This is what you could have put. We've had a lovely chat. Don't worry about it. So these are the legacies. Shrabani, tell us what we're looking at here. This is how Britain remembers people that this country has forgotten. Okay, so what are we looking at?
Well, as you say, it was a real fight because when her biography came out, I'm talking about 2006, that is nearly 20 years ago, I got letters from readers saying, wow, we didn't know her story, there should be a memorial. So I said, a blue plaque would be nice, and I filled in an application to English Heritage who do blue plaques, and guess what? It was rejected. And the reason given was, it wasn't really her house, it was her mother's house. And I said, all Indian women live with their mothers. And she was, we have that.
He's given us I love this guy. He is utterly my favourite man.
What
Thank
a bonus.
You.
Thank you. I don't have to go at double speed.
You can breathe now.
I can
Good.
breathe.
Yeah.
So basically, I couldn't breathe then when they said, no, we're not giving her a blue plaque. I said, she got the George Cross. She died for your country. And how are you refusing this? Anyway, so, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned.
And she's only little, but she is mighty.
And, oh my God, I was so cross. I said, I'm going to build a memorial for her, that in front of the house where they refused the blue plaque. And I just put my little foot down, and I got a little group together, and we lobbied, and we lobbied, and we lobbied. And within 2 years, we got this. And it was unveiled by no less than Princess Anne. Okay. And then, of course, the media came. And then I was a nuisance to English Heritage because I kept reminding them, you refused a blue plaque. I became a complete nuisance until they said, please apply. We have a 10-year rule. 2016, please reapply. Yeah. So I did. And in 2022, the blue plaque was unveiled.
Yeah, amazing.
They asked, will you unveil it? I said, yeah, sure. The thing was, it was hard fought for, I pointed out, there were blue plaques for a lot of Indian men.
Yeah.
There were 11 blue plaques. Gandhi had 2. They all deserve it.
No, it's fine. We're not taking them away from Gandhi.
No. But Ram Mohan Roy, all worthy men, Tagore, everybody. Noor finally got us, but first Asian woman to get a blue plaque in London.
Yeah. And can I just say...
And the first Asian woman to have a statue in a public place in London.
And there aren't... And I don't think there are any more Asian women busts. It's the only one.
It's the only one.
So this woman leads, and then I suddenly also get the bug, because I was like, we were talking at the time, like, why won't they just give her a plaque? It's ridiculous. People who sacrifice themselves for a country. And so with Sophia... Then I got on their case. Yeah. So then they had 2 really annoying brown women going, but she sacrificed her life as well. She fought for women's rights. You wouldn't even have the vote. And you have to go and give lots of evidence, and you have to go and put your argument, and they take years to assess it. And last year, finally, I unveiled that plaque. And Hampton Court Palace. So now any little girl, the thing that thrills me is little girls can walk past that, and maybe one will look up and say, who is this princess? And then the whole story came out. Not only that, and this is what you need to sort out in this country, she was so embraced in Britain, she made it on a postage stamp. That is Sophia on an British postage stamp, where you've got Queen Elizabeth, looking down on a woman that her great-grandfather wanted to throw in the gutter. And that tickles me more than you know. Okay, shall we take another question? And also, I think a lady wanted us to do some slides. Well, if we have time, we'll do that at the end. You want to see the... I know you do, but we've only got 2 minutes for questions. So
the photos
buy the
are
book.
in the books.
The pictures are in the books. Okay, there we go. Your question. Go.
Thank you so much. Would any of you care to share about what in your personal journeys drew you to these women?
Livia.
Yeah, because for me it was the book that changed my life, and I'm not exaggerating. I'm sorry for, to answer your question, I have to overshare a little bit. But anyway, I had gone through a difficult period in my life, as it happens to many. And so I suffered from depression, real depression, treated for 13 years. And one day, I went to the movies, left my building in Paris, and it was snowing, and it was the beginning of April, very strange. And because of, the surprise, the elation of seeing this, I love the snow, and I realized in that moment that I wasn't depressed anymore. It was as if someone had switched something, something electric, light on, light off. And I've never been depressed afterwards. I knew it was over.
That's gorgeous.
And I asked myself, desperately, what was it? What was the key? Because of course, like many people, I tried everything, medication, therapy, yoga, you mention it, whatever. What was the key that turned that horrible thing off? And I realized that the key was that by writing this book, by dedicating, I did many other things in the meantime, but the arc was 12 years, dedicating 12 years mostly to fulfill Bubbles, Amrit Kaur's daughter, to reconcile with her mother before dying. Having had a big problem with my mother myself, I did for her what I wasn't able to do for myself and my mother.
So
and that was my liberation. And I'm really grateful for her giving me the opportunity.
Can I just say that level of honesty is just electrifying. Thank you for that. That's an amazing story. Right, can we squeeze in 2 more questions? One over there. I see you, stripy lady. And let's take... Oh, you're waving. So, you waved. You did the best hands up so far. Okay, so stripy lady first, and then we'll go to wavy man. Okay.
Thank you all so much. You mentioned at the beginning that it's 3 incredible women talking about 3 more incredible women. How important do you think it is that women tell these stories about other women?
Well, we kind of bloody have to, because no one else wants to do it. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. Because when I started out, there was, the Second World War is a subject that is very Western, very male, very British. It's Churchill and nobody else, and, the men who fought, the few, the Air Force, etc. And nobody wants to talk about the women. And then there I was, South Asian woman, wanting to write about another South Asian woman in this war. It was like people didn't care. Initially, but there were a lot of people who helped me as well.
Yeah.
Others said, "Oh, you're never going to find anything. Fictionalize it." And I said, "I'm not fictionalizing it. I'm a journalist. I want all the facts. I want everything down.
Yeah. So there's this thing that happens if you write a book. You get taken around all the publishers, like a beauty pageant. Mm-hmm. You're the one in the swimsuit, and they have to decide if they like your book, and they're going to publish it. And I noticed a real difference, and it goes alongside the number of women who are in publishing. So in some. And I won't name the houses, because all the publishing houses are here today. Buy me a drink later, I'll tell you. But, I noticed that when I went to sort of male publishers, and I was sitting in front of 2 men, and I would say, look, this is my story. I want to write about this Indian woman. She's the daughter of a Maharaja, Dilip Singh. One of these meetings, the guy only wanted to talk about Dilip Singh's record of shooting pheasant. and how many pheasants he'd shot. He had a world record of shooting pheasants out of the sky. And I thought, you know what? Even if you offer me £1 million, I'm never going to publish with you because you don't get it. There were 4 women in 4 other publishing houses who really got this story. They got that it wasn't, you know, another person went, ooh, a brown woman in suffragettes, I mean, niche. And I was like, you're not getting it either. I don't care if you offer anyway. You're not having it. And it was 3 women who then went into an auctioning battle to win the story and really believed in it. And because they really believed in it and were really fighting to get it, then I really believed in it. And since that time, I tell you, this is now voluntary. Then the next thing I'm going to write about is going to be about another brown woman. I've tried other things. I've written about a diamond. I've written about a very sort of exciting, warry man. I'm going back to the thing I love, and that's a woman. Wavy man, you.
Yeah.
Yes, go.
My question is to you, Anita. I just want to know, was she also linked to Women Tax Resistance League? And I'm talking about Sophia. And as also, does her heritage play some role in her political activism? And how much does she know about India when she is staying in England, about what is going on over here?
Oh, my friend, wavy man. That is 3 questions in one. So I'm going to do this. I've got 1 minute 17. Very, very quickly. So, yes, she was aware of her Indian roots because her sister Bamba told her all about it. Bamba, her older sister, would describe herself as the princess of Punjab, even though she had nothing and nobody really liked her and Queen Victoria despised her. But she wanted to get the hell out of England and get back to India as soon as possible. Sophia did not. She did go and visit her sister when her sister was in trouble. That's when she went, sort of in the 1900s. And it is at that point, 1911, where her political awakening happens. No, before that, sorry, 1907, her political awakening happens when she's visiting Bamba, who might have, you know, they fear she has the plague. And she hears this voice coming from the nationalists here. Awaz do, awaz do, awaz do. 2 people come and kneel at her feet. This is unheard of in Punjab. One day, Gopal Krishna Gokhale and Lala Lajpat Rai, who are fighting with each other and not speaking to each other, both turn up at her house to meet the Lion of Punjab's granddaughter. And that is how they also have a meeting that they haven't, you know, and a reconciliation that hasn't happened. And so she goes back energized with the freedom struggle. She meets Sarla Devi. I know you're... Sarla Devi. She comes back to England in a nutshell. Awaz do, and she, as soon as she lands in England, she hears this voice from the women. Give us a voice, give us a voice, give us a voice. Her whole life is then set. That's it.